and welcome to the new episode of The Bottle, episode 7, where I am going to talk about young furries. But before I begin today, I would like to give a shout out. This shout out goes to probably my favorite video makers because they're the ones that inspired me to do my videos. So I would like to give a shout out to a fursuit as well, hosted by the very lovely Kuhori and Grave. They have a awesome channel on Vimeo where they it's kind of hard to describe what the channel is, but they kind of put it into perspective. It's a fursuit as well, so it's all kinds of useful fursuiting related videos, like things like fursuit care, commissioning suits, what to do when you actually get your suit, all kinds of stuff. And these guys are actually what inspired me to do my videos. Before you go, oh wait, look, but you started your videos before they started theirs. That's not true. They actually had another reiteration of a fursuit as well on YouTube a little while back, but things happened and they deleted their channel. But I was extremely thankful for those videos because they really helped me when I was first getting my suit. Like, I had no idea what I was doing. But yeah, highly recommend going and checking out their channel on Vimeo. Give them a follow on Twitter. Like, they're always happy to answer questions as well. You can send them in emails and stuff. They're two very lovely, amazing people. And yeah, so I just wanted to dedicate that to them. Alright, so let us begin the actual bottle episode. So, young furries. By young furries, I mean furries that are under 18. Yeah, it's kind of sucky if you are 1 month away from turning 18, but that's just how it rolls. Universally speaking, there is absolutely nothing wrong with being a young furry. Doesn't matter if you're 5 or you're 10 or you're 17, you're allowed to be a furry, that's fine. But one of the important things is you need to understand what you're getting into, because the majority of the fandom, like the very vast majority, are adults. And you know, we're mature, we're grown up, we like to drink, and we like to talk about adult things. And of course, adults being adults like adult-rated things. So in the fandom, there are a lot of adult-rated things. That is definitely not what the entire fandom is about, but be aware it is there, and it is very large. But just because someone has like porn of their character, that doesn't mean that they're like a raging deviant that is like super hardcore into the furry fetish. Like I said, we're adults. We just like adult things. And yeah, cards on the table. I have a character, and I do have a little bit of 18 plus art of that character. Because I just like the way it looks. It looks nice, it's pretty, it's cute. I can enjoy it without needing to go lock myself in a room for about an hour. But yeah, the majority of furries who are adults will have adult art. Like, for furries, that's just the norm. That's just how things roll. We don't care. So because of that, it can be really hard for young furries to fit in. Because either one, they've looked at furries and gone, oh my god, you're all so gross, goodbye. Or two, their parent has seen it and gone, oh my god, you're so gross, goodbye. And not to mention, when it comes to like conventions, we like to spend our conventions with ridiculous amounts of alcohol. So yeah, if any of you follow me on Instagram, you would know that. So please understand that if you're like a convention or you're at a meet and you're trying to make some friends but they're all over 18 and they're not really being friendly back, please don't take offense. Like, I'm sure you are an amazing, awesome person and you would be a great friend, but they might feel like you're gonna be restricting them a little bit. And not to mention that a lot of conventions are actually 18 plus anyway. Like, the reasons for this vary a lot, but the most common one is that to make an event that is all age inclusive, it drives insurance costs through the roof. Like, it gets insane. So they would have to up retro prices, they would have to get a bigger budget, like they have to increase everything for like what, maybe 5 or 6 underage furries depending on the size of the convention. Like for some bigger ones like Anthrocon, I think Anthrocon is all inclusive, I haven't been there. But yeah, for the bigger ones, they'll do that because they can afford it. Like, they have the money to do that, and they'll know they'll have the attendees. But for some smaller ones, they will prefer to stay 18 plus because it cuts costs down, and not many young furries will be going anyway. So yeah, onto the topic of parents. So in a fandom full of adults with a lot of porn, you could see why some parents won't be very accepting of it, because they'll be like, what's this little furry thing I heard Timmy talking about? I better look this up on the internet, Googles. Oh my god! And they find all the horrible stigmas and things, and then they think that their little kitty is now a raging bestiaphiliac, which is very much not the case. But even without all the adult side of things, it is still a very, very strange thing to outsiders. We are very weird, and because we're weird, it's hard for outsiders to understand, and because they don't understand, they jump to conclusions. Usually bad conclusions. And while you don't need to come out as a furry, it's not really something you should be shoving in their faces either. Because one of the most common questions I get asked is, how do I tell my parents I'm a furry? The short answer is, you don't! You don't need to. It's a hobby. It's not something you come out for. But whether or not you hide it is up to your judgment. But if they're like super crazy, religious, strict, I hate the world parents, and then you go up to them wearing a set of ears, and they're like, oh my god, what are you doing? You're not being normal. Bad, kicked out of the house, then you probably shouldn't. If you want an example from me, being a furry and fursuiting is my number one hobby. Like, it's a very huge part of what I am, and I don't really want to hide a very large part of what I am. So when I decided I was getting a fursuit, I went back home for a holiday, and I went to talk to Mom. I'm like, oh yeah, hey Mom, there's this really cool thing I found on the internet, and I showed her like some fursuit dance competitions because she's a music teacher, so she likes dancing and music and all kinds of things like that. And she's like, oh yeah, that seems cool. I like the costumes, they're very nice. I'm like, oh yeah, I was gonna get one. And he's like, oh yeah, that's cool. And it was done. So you know, I'm a furry. It's that simple. And if you watch my video of me trying on my suit for the first time, even my dad comes in halfway through it and finds me trying to get into this giant blue kangaroo suit. And he laughs at it and he thinks it's awesome and he helps me get it on. So like, if you have awesome parents like mine, please, go, by all means, show them what you love. Because my parents were really awesome about it, and they were really happy that I found something that I was so ridiculously passionate about. So it was really good. And then I've heard the other side of the story from other people where they've come home wearing a tail or done something else that showed a little bit of furriness, and they've been basically disowned. So I can't tell you whether or not you should tell your parents you're a furry. That is up to you. But if you do tell them and things go wrong, then, well, all I can say there is life just isn't fair. So you're just gonna have to wait until you're able to move out and get your own place before you can completely put out all your furriness. My light just died, and I had to wait for it to recharge, and now it's night. I'm really good at making videos. Alright, so now I would like to talk about commissioning artists. Most artists will be happy to do business with anyone that can have their own PayPal account, but please, if you are under 18, do not commission porn. It's kind of sad that I have to say this, like, this should be common sense. But most artists will state in their terms of service that they will not do 18 plus art for those that are under 18. But then there are minors that will pretend Okay, screw it, different light. As I was saying, yes, there are minors who will pretend they are over 18 so that they can go and commission adult art. Now, while you might think that you are mature and you can deal with it and you don't care about it, that's fine. But from the artists, if they get found out that they have sold something that is an adult product to a minor, they can get in some very big trouble, even when it is not their fault at all. So please be considerate of artists and don't do it. And then there is commissioning fursuits. Okay, before I go more into that, I would like to make one thing clear. You don't need a fursuit. You don't need a fursuit. You don't need a fursuit for anything. Whether it's conventions, meets, or just being a furry in general. You don't need a suit. A lot of young furries seem to have this really crazy idea stuck in their heads that you need a fursuit to attend a convention. That is not the case. You do not need a fursuit for anything. Apart from fursuit dance competition and fursuit games and other fursuit specific events. But you can still have a good time without needing to be in those. Remember that fursuits are a luxury item. If something is a luxury, it is something you don't need. It just makes things a bit nicer, but you don't need it. Are we clear on that? Okay? Okay, anyway, yes, commissioning suits. Another one of the most common questions I get asked is, how old do you have to be to get a fursuit? Now, please don't hold your breath, because a lot of makers will not work with minors. Some are fine if you do it through a guardian, but the majority will just outright say no. The reasons for this vary from maker to maker, but I reckon the most common ones are liability issues, and they don't want to have to spend weeks and weeks building an amazing costume work of art that is only going to be outgrown in a year. Like, that's a bit of a waste. So the best age to commission a fursuit is 18 or over. It will make everything smooth, everything will be fine, and it will work. If you still absolutely cannot wait until you're over 18 to have a fursuit, you have two options. Option number one is you can make it yourself. Now, I don't know anything about making suits. I throw money at people that can. So, please don't ask me questions on making suits. I don't know anything. It is a simple Google away. Just Google how to make a fursuit. There are billions of tutorials out there. And then your second option is you find a close friend that makes fursuits, and they'll do that for you if you ask really nicely and, sneak some money their way. Most young furries I know that have fursuits have gotten it through one of those two options. Then you've got the very rare case that you have parents with way too much money that will spoil you and buy you a fursuit, but I would not count on that one if I were you. Alright, I think that's everything I have to say on the topic of young furries. Alrighty, it is question time! First question from Puddle Duck Toy Collecting. Are tail belts really uncomfortable under your suit? How do they work? This varies a lot from maker to maker, as fursuit questions will, and it depends on the tail as well. Usually tails don't come with belts, they will come with belt loops, so you just get your own belt and then you put the tail on that belt. Let me get some tails and show you. This is my Adezu tail, and this one, as you can see, has two belt loops on the top. Now usually belt loops will be on the back, but this one has them on the top so that you fold it down and it stays up, and it has like a really nice bounce to it. It's quite a nice tail. And then you have my tail. So with my tail, since it is a much bigger tail, it uses a kidney belt. And these kidney belts are pretty awesome. So you've got all this massive thick belt. Massive thick belt goes around your waist, and then on top of that there is another smaller belt. So you've got a double belt, and it feels amazingly secure, it feels awesome, and it feels natural. Like, you feel like you really do have a lot of control in your tail. Like, someone can kick the end of my tail and I feel it, and I've managed to freak out a few people with that. So yeah, tails vary, but those are the most common two I've found. Alrighty, then from Let's Play Video Games. What do you not like about the fandom? Probably the whole pop-you-fur thing. Like, sometimes the fandom feels like one giant popularity contest. Like, everyone's trying to be the next telephone or the next Duke, or just trying to be the celebrity taste of the month. It really shouldn't be. It's kind of dumb. Please don't care about being poppy fur if you do. No one gets poppy fur on purpose. it just happens, like they just happen to be an awesome person, and then everyone's like, oh, that's an awesome person, and then when someone's like, oh, you know that awesome person, I know that awesome person, and they become puppy fur. Like, it's silly. And the sad thing is, there are a lot of biases towards puppy furs in particular areas. I'm not gonna go into that because that's gonna start a hell of a lot of drama. But yeah. From Water Husky. Hi, I have a few questions. What do you do if a kid is scared of you? How would you act if your suit can't open its mouth? And does it? Okay, so for the first one, if a kid is scared of you, this is actually quite a common situation, so that's a good question. There's multiple different things you can do. So, firstly, you want to try and avoid scaring the kid to begin with, so you really need to watch their body language. If they're backing away from you, or they're not coming towards you, don't run up and give them a hug. Like, you will give them PTSD. So, just watch and wait for them to approach you. Then when they're approaching you, you can engage them. However, if you've come across a situation where a kid is now scared, I find this most commonly happens by parents thrusting their kid upon you and the kid really doesn't want to go, then what you can do is either 1, back off, or 2, what I like to do is I like to act scared as well. So then you sort of get on their level in a way. So like, oh, that thing's not so scary because it seems to be more scared of me than I am of it. And they kind of warm up to you a bit. And remember, whenever approaching a kid you're not too sure about, bob down, get on your knees, get down to their height, so then you are much less terrifying. It says eat, not act. Okay, I can see. Then you either go to the headless lounge and get a snack, or if you're somewhere that doesn't have a headless lounge, you need to find somewhere to retreat, like a car or a bathroom or somewhere you can take your head off and eat. Or like, I can't eat in suit obviously because look, I have paws, I can't pick up anything, so I will get like my hands on something to be like, oh, here's food, oh. And that usually works fine. But I've seen some people with very solid heads and static mouths, they will lift their heads up slightly and like sneak some food in underneath the neck. Like, there's multiple different strategies you can do, it just depends on the situation really. So in all cases, avoid taking the head off while you're performing with people. But if you're at like, you know, a meet or a convention or somewhere among other furries, you can just take your head off and find there are other furries that don't care. From Alpha Minecrafter. Are you a wolf or a fox? I forget, lol. It's not like my channel is called Bakari Roo! From Equine Artist. Hey Bakari, have you worn your suit outside in the winter? If so, can you wear it longer cause it is cold outside and warm in the suit? Yes! Very much so. Fursuiting in winter is probably the best time to fursuit because it's nice and cold, lots of wind, and it feels amazing when you're in a suit. But obviously the downside of winter is it rains a lot. Some fursuiters will even take their suits in the snow. Snow is totally fine on fursuits because it's just water. So you can frolic around the snow in your fursuit, lots of fun. It's something I'm still yet to do, it's on my fursuit bucket list. But I've even seen some people ski in fursuits. From Skin Flufu. So if I get a quote, would that mean I'm asking to commission or just asking for a price? Because I'm really interested in getting a suit, but I need to save up. I need help, Christ! You can get quotes and not commission the suit. You just need to say so. So when you send in a quote, and the artist is also open for commissions, they will sometimes assume that you want a slot and will save a slot for you. But when you send in your quote, just say something like, oh hey, I'm not looking to get a suit at the moment, I'm just looking at prices, then they definitely won't add you to the slot and they'll give you a quote and then you don't have to commit to anything else, you can see the prices. Just make sure you say so. From Cuckoo Hyena, if someone answers this, bless your soul. What is that picture called that has a front, side and back view of your character? That, my good sir, is called a reference sheet, or ref sheet for short. Ref sheets come in very, very, very different styles. So you've mainly got your two types of reference sheet, which is just your basic reference sheet and your fursuit reference sheet. The main difference being a basic reference sheet is usually for something that's not going to be a fursuit, so it's a character, it's in like some dynamic poses, it's showing what the character likes to do, it just shows your character for the sake of commissioning art. And then with the fursuits ones, it's with your character on some very strict poses on the direct front, the direct side, and the direct back, so that whoever's making your suit can see where all your markings and things are and they can get everything correct. That is all the questions for tonight. Please leave me some more in the comments, but make sure you read my frequently asked questions first so that you don't ask something that 50 million people have as well. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I love you all, and I will see you in the next episode. Make sure you follow my Twitter because I will probably ask what to do for my next episode. I'm running out of ideas now. And yeah, have a good night. Bye!